Tomorrow, Channel 5's Tom Hendrick explains.
We want a deaf president now! We want a deaf president now!
With reports of over 1,000 students threatening to withdraw from the university, the mood hardened on the picket line as students blasted top board members as liars and bigots. And in an unprecedented show of support, Gallaudet's faculty voted overwhelmingly for board chairperson Jane Spilman to resign, also endorsing the student demand for a deaf president immediately.
We support the students in their demand request for a deaf president and that there should be no reprisals.
I think the faculty is expecting that the pressure from this faculty meeting and the votes that were taken at this meeting will cause the board to rethink its decision.
But the administration showed no signs of bending to the pressure. The newly appointed president, Elizabeth Zinser, criticized for not even knowing sign language, promised to learn, but also said she is ready to teach discipline.
It is an organization that must stay in control, and within a very short period of time, if it gets any further out of control, I will have to take action in order to bring it under control. Well, that's going to have to be determined when I see what's going on the campus. At the moment, I understand things are not at a crisis point.
The effect of board chairwoman Spilman's message was she's not quitting, and she is calling the students bluff.
Chairman of the board serves at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees. When the Board of Trustees votes to replace me or ask me to step aside, I will do so with alacrity. And I will not do so before they ask me to.
Several members of Congress have warned that the controversy could affect federal funding, a primary source of money for the university. And students say they are also cheered by their teachers joining what is being called their strike for equality.
We're going to be waiting and see what happens next. You know, for myself, I can't predict the future. But all we can do is just, wait and see what happens.
As one faculty member put it, the eyes of the deaf world are now on Gallaudet. Meantime, with no apparent compromise in sight and neither side willing to budge, students warn the campus is on the verge of violence. Tom Hendrick, Channel 5 News at Gallaudet University.
D.C. Police.
This is News 7 at 6.
Good evening. Renee is off tonight. Students shut down Gallaudet University once again today, but the controversial new president said she plans to stay. For the latest on the protest, let's go live to Kathleen Matthews at the Northeast Campus. Kathleen?
Wes, there continues to be tremendous energy and solidarity here on the Gallaudet campus. The question now is what will happen in light of Elizabeth Zinser's decision that she will not withdraw her name as the new president and the board's decision that they will not back down. Well, Zinser says she is asking students to channel that energy into a dialogue with her and not against her.
I have no illusions that it will be easy at all.
Elizabeth Zinser made her first Washington appearance at a carefully choreographed news conference today. Only credentialed members of the press were allowed in to avoid hecklers and protesters.
The Board of Trustees has brought to you and to all of the component parts of Gallaudet University an incredibly talented, highly trained academician and manager.
The bottom line was there is no going back. The trustees are standing firm in their choice.
Trust us. She will not disappoint you.
On campus, where students had kept the university shut down a third day, they were kept apprised of what was being said in the news conference, and the setback seemed only to intensify their rage. In solidarity with students, the Faculty Senate voted this afternoon to back their demands for a deaf president and the resignation of Board Chairman Spilman. It was essentially a no-confidence vote in the new president and the current board. Zinser hopes that by meeting with students, as she did earlier today, she can open up a dialogue. She got the backing today also from both other finalists for the job, both of them deaf. The future may be uncertain here at Gallaudet, but there's no going back.
Gallaudet will never be the same. Gallaudet students will never be the same. The deaf world has changed, and it's been a very, very positive change.
There will be another rally here on the Gallaudet campus at 7 o'clock in less than an hour. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the new president and the chairwoman of the Board of Trustees are meeting with Congressman David Bonnier, hoping to get a commitment from him that this will not jeopardize the federal funding for the university. Wes?
Kathleen, do you really think it could jeopardize the funding?
Well, there have been a lot of support, voices of support from Capitol Hill, from people like Bonnier, from Senate Majority Leader Bob Dole, even from Vice President George Bush. But that pressure didn't seem to make a difference in terms of the statements that were made today.
There appears to be no way that the administration is willing to back down or give an inch, right?
They say they are not going to back an inch. This is the president, and they want students to learn to work with her.
Thank you, Kathleen. Some students at the University of Maryland also staged a protest today. Their target...
It can either mean I love you, or in some cases, deaf power. For the last few days at the nation's only liberal arts university for the deaf, Gallaudet University in the nation's capital, a power struggle between the students and a university administration over who will be the next president, someone who is hearing impaired or not. ABC's Jackie Judd was on the campus today.
The students, angry and frustrated, brought Gallaudet to a standstill again today.
And we will continue with this struggle and this protest, and we will not give up.
Late today, the students won overwhelming backing from the faculty for their demands, including the removal of President-elect Elizabeth Ann Zinser, the dismissal of Board Chairman Jane Bassett Spilman, and the appointment of more hearing-impaired board members. But the board showed no signs of giving in. Zinser, who is only now learning sign language, pleaded to be given a chance.
I ask that they step back from trying to assume a position of demands and give us an opportunity to look at the problems.
The students and faculty lost some of their steam when Zinser unexpectedly won the backing of the two other finalists, both of whom are hearing impaired. Congress, which gives Gallaudet most of its budget, stepped into the dispute today.
The time has come for the trustees to admit that they made a mistake, to rescind the appointment that they have made, and to appoint to that college one of the very well-qualified people who are hearing impaired.
For Gallaudet students, the Zinser affair has turned into something larger than the appointment of a university president. It's a matter, they say, of their civil rights.
It's almost as saying deaf people are not ready to function in the hearing world, and that's the statement that I have heard often. We are being put down, and it's time now to have a deaf president.
Faculty and more alumni are demanding that the university's Board of Trustees hire a deaf president. But so far, the board is sticking by its decision on Dr. Elizabeth Zinser, who is not deaf and is just now learning sign language. I.J. Hudson reports.
After a show of unity, the students discussed what they should do during spring break next week. Most favored staying on campus to keep the heat on the board and the story of Gallaudet on the front pages and on the evening news. The forum came after a long day of protests that saw no movement in the positions of the board and the students. 4 for the 4 student demands. 1, a deaf president. 2, a majority of deaf board members. 3, amnesty for demonstrators. And 4, the resignation of board chairperson Jane Bassett Spilman. Spilman told reporters she was not stepping down, and the board's decision on the new president was final.
Dr. Zinser is capable, committed, and dedicated to the future of Gallaudet University and its special mission.
And new Gallaudet president, Dr. Elizabeth Zinser, said she is staying.
The only way in which I would step aside would be if the Board of Trustees asked me to step aside, and the Board of Trustees is the only agency that has the authority to take that action.
Late today, faculty and staff members approved a resolution supporting the students' demands. The vote was overwhelming.
When we have a deaf president, we can say that our work in higher education for deaf people is not in vain.
The protest continues tomorrow. I.J. Hudson, News 4, Washington.
At least one congressman is saying congressional fees jeopardized by this dispute. Also today, the 2 deaf finalists for the presidency endorsed the board's decision to hire Zinser. That is a reversal for Dr. I. King Jordan, who earlier said he supported the students.
Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Susan King, Renee is off tonight.
And I'm Wes Sargentson. It just may be the watershed event is named for Gallaudet University. The protest calling for the appointment of a hearing-impaired president continues, and the students and faculty members show no sign of giving up their fight. In fact, as News 7's Kathy Wolf reports, they made more plans tonight on how to continue the battle.
In sign language, it was a deafening roar of approval. Students at Gallaudet University rallied tonight in support of continuing their protest through spring break, which begins on Monday.
The nation is watching us now. National people are going to come in. Everybody's going to know that they're coming here to Gallaudet, so we have to continue to work.
It was the close of a full day of developments in the ongoing controversy. This afternoon, students closed the university for a second day to protest the selection of a non-deaf president. Even as this demonstration was taking place, the new president was speaking to reporters at the National Press Club, fully expecting to take the new job.
And I believe that the students and the individuals that are making these statements are going to be fair and give me an opportunity to work with them.
The biggest blow to students came when one of 2 hearing-impaired candidates for the job gave his support to the new president. At tonight's strategy session, students and faculty vowed to continue the demonstrations indefinitely and keep them peaceful.
I don't think there'll be violence. I've been very impressed with the students' control. I think they've done a wonderful job.
Tonight's rally covered a lot of material, but the primary message was clear. The dispute over the university's new president is not likely to be resolved over something as simple as a spring vacation. Kathy Wolf, News 7.